You have $10. It's sitting in your wallet right now, not doing anything, just existing. And as far as you can tell, $10 is $10. It was $10 yesterday. It'll be $10 tomorrow, except it won't be. Because right now, while you're not looking, a small invisible thief is slicing tiny pieces off of it. Not all at once. Not enough for you to notice today or this week or maybe even this year. But slice by slice, your $10 is becoming $9.90. Then $9.90, then $9, then $8. Nobody broke into your house, nobody picked your pocket, and yet you are being robbed slowly, continuously, every single day. This thief has a name. It's called inflation. And here's the strange part. Almost nobody votes for it. Almost nobody asks for it by name. And yet it happens anyway, every year, almost everywhere on Earth. So let's find out who this thief actually is, how it operates, and why, strangely enough, most economists don't actually want to get rid of it completely. Inflation, in the simplest terms, means prices go up and your money buys less than it used to. A loaf of bread that cost $1 might cost $1.05 next year. That doesn't sound dramatic. But stretch that out, and the picture changes fast. Imagine your $10 sitting in a jar for 30 years, completely untouched. With even a modest, boring, totally normal rate of inflation, that $10 will only buy what about $4 or $5 buys today. You didn't spend it, you didn't lose it, you just held on to it, and it quietly lost more than half its power. The thief doesn't need to break in, it just needs you to wait. So where does this thief come from? There are a few usual suspects, and once you see them, you start noticing them everywhere. The first one is simple: too much money chasing too few things. Imagine an island with 10 coconuts and 10 coins. Each coconut costs 1 coin. Simple. Now imagine someone hands everyone on the island extra coins, but the island still only has 10 coconuts. Suddenly, people are offering 2 coins, 3 coins, 4 coins for the same coconut, because there's more money around but the same number of coconuts to buy. The coconut didn't get more valuable, the money got less valuable. Now scale that island up to an entire country. When a government or a central bank creates a lot of new money quickly, maybe to pay for a war or to soften an economic crisis, or just to cover spending it can't otherwise afford, that new money doesn't create new coconuts. It doesn't create new houses or new cars or new haircuts. It just means more currency is now competing for the same stuff that already existed. And when more money chases the same goods, sellers realize they can charge more because someone, somewhere, is willing to pay it. The second suspect is the cost of making things in the first place. If oil gets more expensive, trucks cost more to run. If trucks cost more to run, shipping a product costs more. If shipping costs more, the factory's costs go up too because the parts they need also got more expensive to move. By the time that product reaches a store shelf, dozens of small cost increases have stacked on top of each other. The store isn't trying to gouge you, they're just trying to break even, while everyone behind them in the chain did the exact same thing. Nobody along that chain was greedy or evil. They were just passing rising costs down the line until it landed on you, the final stop, holding a price tag that's higher for reasons you never saw happen. The third suspect is expectation, and this one is strange because it isn't really about money at all. It's about belief. If workers believe prices are going to rise next year, they ask for raises to keep up with a future that hasn't happened yet. If businesses believe their costs are going to climb, they raise prices in advance to protect themselves. Everyone is reacting to something that doesn't exist yet, and by acting like it will happen, they make it happen. Inflation can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, spinning forward simply because enough people expect it to. To see how badly this can spiral, it helps to look at a real moment in history. In the 1970s, the United States went through a stretch where prices rose fast year after year, while economic growth stayed weak, an unusual and painful combination. Oil prices spiked sharply after supply disruptions in the Middle East, which raised costs for nearly everything that needed to be transported or manufactured. At the same time, expectations of rising prices had become baked into how workers and businesses planned. Wages rose to keep up with expected inflation, and prices rose to keep up with expected wage increases. The cycle fed itself for years. People who had saved cash for retirement watched its buying power shrink noticeably year after year, even though the number in their bank account never went down. The dollar amount stayed the same. What it could buy did not. It took aggressive, painful intervention, sharply raising interest rates, deliberately slowing the economy down, to finally break that cycle. Which tells you something important. Inflation, once it gets expectations moving in the same direction, doesn't just fade out on its own. Someone has to step in and stop it on purpose. Now here's where it gets interesting, because inflation isn't just a number on the news. It changes who wins and who loses quietly without anyone announcing it. If you have a lot of cash sitting still, inflation works against you. Every year, that pile is worth a little less in real terms, even though the number on the screen hasn't changed. You can watch your bank balance and feel reassured while your actual purchasing power drains out the back door. But if you owe money, a loan, a mortgage, a debt, inflation can actually work in your favor. Say you borrowed $10,000 years ago. If wages and prices have gone up since then, you're paying that debt back with money that's now easier to earn relative to prices. The debt amount stays the same number, but the real burden of paying it shrinks every year that passes. And if you own things that tend to rise in price along with everything else, property, certain investments, businesses, inflation can quietly increase what those things are worth, even if nothing about the thing itself actually changed. The building didn't get bigger, the land didn't get more useful overnight. The number attached to it just climbed, riding the same wave that's eating your cash. So inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. It transfers value from savers to borrowers, from cash holders to asset holders, from people on fixed incomes to people whose income or wealth grows alongside the economy. Nobody votes on this transfer. Nobody signs a form agreeing to it. It just happens, quietly baked into how money works. Which raises an obvious question. If inflation quietly takes from some people and gives to others, why does it exist at all? Why don't we just stop it completely? Here's the uncomfortable answer. A small amount of inflation is actually considered healthy by most economists. It encourages people to spend and invest money rather than hoard it under a mattress, because money sitting completely still slowly loses value, which nudges people to put it to work instead. It gives businesses room to gradually adjust prices without ever having to cut anyone's wages outright. And it gives policymakers some flexibility during downturns. When an economy slows down, having a little inflation in the system gives central banks room to maneuver that they wouldn't have otherwise. The real danger isn't inflation existing. It's inflation running out of control, when prices rise so fast that money starts to lose people's trust altogether. That's when you see the extreme cases you might have heard about, where people rush to spend cash the moment they receive it, because by next week it'll buy noticeably less, and by next month it might buy almost nothing at all. In those situations, money stops behaving like a stable tool and starts behaving like a melting block of ice, useful only if you use it immediately. So what does this actually mean for you, the person holding the $10? It means cash sitting completely still is not actually safe in the way it feels safe. It's slowly leaking value, even when nothing visibly happens to it, even when your balance never drops. It means understanding that prices going up over time isn't some random, unfair glitch in the economy. It's a built-in feature of how modern money works, baked in on purpose, for reasons that occasionally even make sense. And practically, it means a few things are worth paying attention to. Money that's just sitting, completely idle, is quietly losing a race it doesn't know it's running. Money that's invested, or put into something that tends to grow or rise alongside the economy, at least has a chance to keep pace with the thief, instead of just getting robbed by it. None of this means panic, and none of it means you need to become an expert overnight. It just means treating idle cash as something with a quiet, ongoing cost, instead of something that's simply safe, because the number on the screen hasn't moved. The real question isn't, how do I avoid inflation completely? Because you can't. Nobody can. It's built into the system. The real question is, how do I make sure my money is doing something instead of just sitting there quietly losing a fight it doesn't even know it's in? Your $10 was never just sitting still. It was always moving, just backwards, one invisible slice at a time.
And now you know the thief's name.